So, owning your results. What does it mean to hold yourself accountable? This is a topic that I hear a lot of coaches talk about. I hear a lot of people ask questions about. And so, the first thing I really want to take a look at this morning is a kind of a distinction. You know, some people talk about having accountability partners, and maybe to them that means a coach that they're working with, or their spouse, or a friend that has similar goals. What I want you to think about, though, as we go into this discussion, is that no one else can hold you accountable. They can't do it. Accountability is literally something that you have to learn for yourself. Other people that care about you or that support you, they can ask you questions, they can check in with you, they can provide empathy or encouragement. But accountability is something that only you can learn to give to yourself. And so this morning, what I wanted to give you is a system that you can use to practice and to get better at holding yourself accountable. So that's what we're going to look at, is how accountability really means claiming your actions. It means taking complete responsibility for the results that you have, whether you like those results or not. So let's see here. Okay, just checking. So three things that we're going to talk about here is intention, aligned action, and reflection. Now, these are all terms that if you've been following me for a while or you work with me, that you've probably heard a lot. So I'm not going to spend too much time defining them, but I want to show you how you use these three things in a system to help hold yourself accountable. So the first step is intention, right? What are you intending to do? What are the desired results that you want in any given topic or goal? Have you set the intention? It would be pretty impossible to hold yourself accountable for something if you don't know what that thing is. So the very first step that we need to always have in our mind is, what is our intention? What is our desired outcome? What is the goal that we're looking to accomplish? From there, you want to have a system set up of milestones or aligned actions. Now let's pause and talk about what the word aligned means. You may hear people talking about being in alignment, right? And yet, what does alignment actually mean? It just means arranged in a straight line. And that's why your intention is the beginning of accountability. Because in order to have aligned actions, you have to have that starting point so that you can actually assess whether or not the actions that you're taking are in a straight line with your desired outcomes. Now, I'm going to give you a really quick, simple example. Let's say that your intention is to not drink coffee for the next 7 days. Okay, and you know that you love coffee. You know you love the smell of coffee, the taste of coffee. I might be talking about myself. It would not be in alignment with your intention to schedule all of your business meetings in a coffee shop for the next 7 days. Okay, that would not be aligned action. Right? So what we're looking at is, have you set an intention, and are you setting yourself up for success by taking actions that are in alignment with that intention? And in our little example, it would basically, for me, it would be get all the coffee out of my house, right? Don't go to a coffee shop within those 7 days, right? Because those are the steps that would make it easier. Those are the actions that would be in alignment with my intention. Now, the third step that we talk about is reflection. And reflection is a really big one because it's coming after you've executed these actions. However, this is the step that a lot of people get hung up on. And so I've got some questions that will help you learn how to effectively reflect on the actions that you're taking, on the results that you're getting. And the reason I say that is because we all have this internal bias. We all have this filter or this view of ourselves and the world under which we evaluate or interpret information. So when you're reflecting on your results and you're trying to hold yourself accountable, you want to make sure, or you want to practice removing as much of your own internal bias as possible. And part of the way that you do that, which we've talked a little bit about before, is making sure you're not being overly critical on yourself or others, while at the same time making sure you're not at a place where you're unable to identify your own part, right? You're unable to identify anything that you could have done differently. So those are two ends of extreme thinking that can prevent you from being able to reflect effectively. So I have 4 questions for you that you can use to help you in the reflection process. And these questions, if you're honest with yourself, they can help you learn how to hold yourself accountable for the results that you're getting. Now, mind you, these things that I'm talking about can be applied to anything. I talked about coffee, but they work in relationships, they work in making more money, they work in growing your business, they work in regards to the way you deal with employees or your children, right? So you can use these with anything. The first thing when you're reflecting that you want to ask yourself is, what was the desired outcome? Okay, so you're just going back to, what was the intention that I set? Okay, and then the second thing is, what actually happened? Right? Now this is where you want to be very clear about observing. Watch what's happening in your mind. Pay attention to the thoughts that you're having. Because if when you go to answer that question, you're immediately jumping ahead and you're having all these feelings that are coming up, you want to be able to rein yourself in at this point. That's part of the accountability process, is you want to be able to simply answer what actually happened from an observational standpoint. Okay, so just think of it as just the facts. Do your best to just lay out what were the actual results. From there, question number 3 is, what went well and what caused those things to go well? So a lot of times when people are reflecting, we're focusing on the things that didn't happen the way that we wanted them to happen. And the problem with that is that we need all the data, we need all the feedback, and that includes what went well. Okay? So holding ourselves accountable is a process where we not only learn to make adjustments in our behavior, but we also learn to celebrate our successes. That helps us to reinforce, right, for ourselves the things that we're doing well, which we want to be able to focus on. So the question number 3 is, what went well and what are the reasons or the things that led up to those results or those things that went well? And of course, question number 4 then is going to look at the opposite of that. It's really going to be about, what could you have done differently, right? What are the results that didn't happen the way that you wanted them to? And what was your part? And this is, again, where a lot of people kind of fall into this trap, because it's easy to be overly critical of yourself or overly critical of others. It's also very easy to place blame. And part of the conversation around accountability is also a conversation around influence, because culturally, on the internet or in stories or in our families, there's a tendency to like to put the blame on a particular perspective or thought process. It's really hard for a lot of people. We haven't been taught culturally how to take responsibility for ourselves. So we might be trying to do that, and we might be overcome with feelings of shame or an inability to really identify how we feel and then be able to express that vulnerably. So these are the influences that each one of us has had in our lives that can make it challenging for us to increase the level of accountability that we have for ourselves. So when you're walking through this process or thinking about, how do I get better at it? These are all of the steps, many, many, many steps involved in helping you learn how to be accountable. But what I want to encourage you is that it's not difficult to understand the steps. It does require practice, and it does help if you can begin to look at it as a system that you can practice the steps of and evaluate as you go. I talk a lot about confidence and clarity and being consistent, and those elements are all wrapped up in accountability. Learning how to hold yourself accountable is a step-by-step practice that will help you gain more clarity, will help you gain more confidence, and that will help you become consistent. So if you have questions about that, if you have something specific in your life that you are trying to hold yourself accountable for, or if any of the terms and concepts I've talked about, you have questions or you want to share how you've been working on them, please post it in the comments. I would love to hear more about that. As always, I want to remind you that your life is your journey. And what works for one person may not work for someone else. What's right for you may not be right for someone else. And the goal that I have here at Onward Endeavors is to help you be comfortable being yourself. I want to help you learn how to think autonomously, how to identify what your goals are with clarity, how to help you gain the confidence that you need in order to pursue those goals, and how to help you take ownership of your results.